Um, so just to give you a vibe for our group, Candice, we are really a family. It's like 45 plus members of food and beverage culinary entrepreneurs, from bakers to chefs to caterers. And the mission that Samia has really stayed true to is that this is a place where these entrepreneurs can elevate their business, but also it's a safe space because we know the culinary industry can be incredibly stressful, sometimes toxic, and this is a place where underserved entrepreneurs, mostly African American people of color, can come and build their business and
Right.
elevate here. So we're very candid in our conversation. Samia often shares even her challenges being a female entrepreneur launching this vision and expanding. So we want you to feel like you're part of the family as well now as you
I do.
with us. And yeah, we're eager to hear your story. I have some operational questions that folks did give me in advance, so we'll get into that. But we really just want to hear your journey and the sequence of it, how you got started and what your inspirations are. So I'll start, let you just take over and kind of share like how you got started. What were some of your initial sort of inspirations? And did you always know you wanted to go into culinary or food and beverage?
I didn't. This is a place where in a million years you would not have, I would have never guessed that I would have been on this journey. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I've always loved business and wanted to learn more about how you can turn turn something that you love into something that you can really create a life on. Yeah. I've always wanted to be my own boss. I've always wanted to experience that freedom in the love that comes along with ownership. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a lot of work. There's freedom, yeah. But I think the thing, yeah, right. It's a lot that we all know falls in our laps too. But I think the thing for me was being able to create my own experience, having not just having my own, but there had to be something more to life, in my opinion, than to, why are we here on earth? It's to go to school, to get a job so I can work 9 to 5 for somebody else, and then I just retire and I collect a pension. That really didn't sound appealing to me, especially when you know that you're limited on how much you can really pass on to the next generation when you take that route. I mean, it's a respectable route, don't get me wrong, but for me, it just felt like I had a purpose on this earth and be able to create something that made me happy, that I could also sustain my lifestyle and give and teach my children with, and just to pass something on to the next generation. That's kind of always been the reason why I've been on this quest for pretty much my whole life. The culinary piece, I didn't discover that until some years back.
Do you remember what sparked it?
Yeah. In 1996, I'm based out of Atlanta. In 1996, we had the Olympics here in Atlanta, and just trying to figure out how I could take advantage of the opportunity, having all those people in town, what could be the thing that I can
like, were you always
do? Yeah. What could be that thing that I do where I could take advantage of the traffic and really be able to provide something that was needed. So when the Olympics came, I opted to get 2 booths during the Olympics where we provided drinks and popcorn and things like that. I said, hey, I'll take advantage of the American dream and take advantage of this opportunity to be able to provide during such a historic event. Yeah. And it's funny because one of the things I've been in making lemonade for years, different types. I've always kind of experimented. But during the Olympics, what a lot of people don't know is that, sometimes the corporations come in and they take over certain things. One of the things that we sold was bottled water. Well, Crystal Springs decided that year that they were going to set up water for free on every corner in Atlanta, surrounding all the venues. And here we are having to charge an astronomical amount of money for a bottle of water just so that we could make a few cents off of it, because that was what we were being charged.
Yeah.
So vendors came across looking like, we were these money hungry, people that were selling bottles of water for so expensive. And then the great savior, Crystal Springs, comes in and says, oh, we're just going to give it away for free. So
they messed up your whole game.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had to take a step back and reevaluate. We were like, we can't sustain. I mean, the Olympics is going to be over soon. We're going to lose our shirts here, because water was one of the main things that we were selling. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to get my lemonade squeezer out here, and I'll, get a bunch of lemons and squeeze them while people are watching and make my lemonade. That's something fresh and different. And the lemonade ended up saving us during the Olympics.
Awesome. So you were just giving us the sequence of how you pivoted from water to lemonade and an opportunity to capture that audience, because you guys had such an amazing opportunity with the Olympics in Atlanta.
Right. We really did have a great opportunity. That's exactly right. We had to, in the moment, make a split decision to try to remediate the problem. I felt really bad for some of the other vendors there, because, we had a pretty simple proposition for our consumer, which with the water and popcorn prepackaged goods, but some individuals came and they, had a full stove set up and they were cooking, and, there were some other challenges with the Olympics as well. But we were able to make the pivot and provide a lemonade, and it seemed to be something that people wanted. So even though it wasn't the most ideal situation, we were able to uncover a market with the lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
So I credit that moment with being the moment I saw something initially in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've evolved clearly. But there was a big pause in between. We didn't go straight from there to Squoze lemonade. The journey that I took in between included, people asking me to make lemonades for certain events, and it included, just with my family and experimenting and that sort of thing, and an occasional catering here and there.
So this was your personal network asking you to participate?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Cool.
That's right.
And when you were selling at the Olympics, was it called Squoze?
No, we just had a booth where we literally just had snacks, on the, right. No, we didn't create that brand until 2018.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So there was another turning point that really turned my casual lemonade making for events into a business. That turning point was when my father decided to start his business, and it was something that I helped him with. He'd been wanting to do it for many, many years, and it was creating a barbecue sauce that my grandfather made.
Wow.
And it's called Chappie Daddy's Barbecue. We're selling it in a few locations. We sell it online.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Chappie Daddy's All Sauce is actually was what it's called. And when we did that, we learned how you had to go through the process, the approval of a food based packaged product.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to go through with getting it approved through a resource. Ours in the state of Georgia is the University of Georgia. They have a food, I don't know what you would call it, food processing department, where they go, you send them a sample and the bottle that it's going to be served in, and they analyze what it is, and they define it. They classify it as either something that's acid or acidified, and based on that classification, you may need some additional courses on how to safely make it. But either way, this is something that's required by the Department of Agriculture to get your license from them, or your certification from the Department of Agriculture.
So that was like a passion project that you and your father did collaboratively, and then it grew into Squoze. But your dad had always been doing the barbecue sauce for family events?
Yeah, it was something that he always made for family events. He even made his own little batch, and he had his little stash in the fridge all the time. That's what he would use. So absolutely, my father loves the sauce. It was something that our family was used to my grandfather making. So it was a passion project. I want to get this thing bottled, and this is something that means something to me. So I was like, after much resistance, quite frankly, for years he had been asking me to help him with this. So I'm not really sure what made me say, okay, let's go at this 100%. But just went through that whole learning process of what to do to stand up a business of packaged foods. Part of the requirements with the Department of Agriculture is to be able to create the product out of a Department of Agriculture approved kitchen, which meant that we were going to have to build our own kitchen, or we would have to rent a space and stand up a kitchen, or we would have to use a shared kitchen that fits the requirements of the Department of Agriculture. So we found a shared kitchen. It's actually downtown Atlanta. It is called the Urban Street Community Kitchens.
Cool.
In this space, we found a home, and we were able to create the sauce. The unique thing about this space is that they had a storefront. And the goal of this space, I mean, it really was a blessing that we came into contact with the owner of the kitchen, because what he actually gave us the opportunity to do was to showcase our product. So not only could we make it, he had an approved space for us to actually be able to sell it. So we used,
like a marketplace.
Yeah. So we actually had a Chappie Daddy's barbecue pop-up, but not a pop-up restaurant, because pop-up implies that kind of we stand it up and break it down. But we actually were in this space for 6 months every Saturday.
In the shared kitchen.
And actually the storefront in front of the shared kitchen.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And what we decided to do was to showcase this sauce by, putting it on different types of items. And we were like, well, what will we offer to drink? And I said, I think I'll just make the lemonade. Lemonade goes great with barbecue. I can make that up and sell it, and it'll be great.
This is amazing. So, Candice, are you doing this the whole time while you're working a full-time job, or are you doing this on the side on the weekends while
Absolutely.
You're parenting? So you're juggling this on the weekends and in the evening.
I'm juggling it on the weekends and evenings, working a full-time job, and I have 2 boys.
Okay. Very similar to a lot of our community.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's the first thing, is you have to be committed and understand, look, this is going to invade my life. Every spare moment I have is going to have to go to the business. My family has just been a blessing and very supportive and excited to help me there. So
how did you guys know about pricing? That was one of the questions. Like, how did you initially figure out how to price your products?
Pricing has been a journey. And there have been several things that we've had to take into consideration for pricing. Number one, there's a natural markup. But I think holistically, if you look at it from several perspectives, there's the price. You have to make sure you're covering your costs, of course. What does the market dictate? What are my competitors? How are they pricing their products? And what is rent, So, I mean, all of these factors you kind of have to take into consideration so that you can understand how you can actually make money on it. Yeah, exactly, your margins. One of the things that I think is missed when people are pricing is, what is the time that I put into making this?
Oh, that's huge.
We don't value our own time. And I'm guilty of this. It's something that I had to learn the hard way. We have to value our time, even when we're making it, because one day what's going to happen is you're going to have to hire somebody. You have to cover their time, the time that it takes them to make it.
That's major.
So, yeah. And that's kind of where I am now. I kind of went back and forth on the price. Where we're located is considered to be a trendy area, where the prices might be a bit higher than they are where I live. So, I had to take myself out of the mix, right? We can't ask ourselves, well, I would pay this for something. This is what makes sense. It really is much more scientific than that. so we just have to really think about those things. One of the hard lessons that I've had to learn is it's not really what I like, it's about what my consumers like.
Okay.
What will they buy? What does the market dictate? All of these things can help you develop a formula for creating the right price.
Do you use any tools, accounting tools, to kind of help you manage your time, to do forecasting, or to sort of see like profit margins and that ROI, or is this all manual on a spreadsheet in your computer?
Yeah, I'm actually the queen of spreadsheets. So
Okay.
I don't. I mean, I probably would benefit from being able to use some accounting tools, but I guess I have to make the choice. The choice that choices I've had to make are how much time am I willing to invest in areas that where I know there'll be a learning curve, right? Do I really need to invest a lot of time in understanding the nuances of an accounting tool, or is that more? Does that inhibit me more?
Can you outsource it?
Right. This is something that might be worth me outsourcing it, but don't get me wrong. Most people don't have the budget to outsource.
Exactly.
So they have to figure these things out on their own. Me, myself included, I'm a long way from being able to hire out all of the services that I need. So how I find that I manage things like money is really in a spreadsheet that I can customize to meet my own needs.
Cool. Very cool. And then in terms of your time, this is another question we have from our members, like time management. They're accountants during the day, they're doing IT. Like, how do they allocate time toward their business so that they feel like they're being productive? One of the things they definitely said is that Flavors helps them be accountable. But how do you keep yourself accountable to saying, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time? Like, is there a formula that you use, or you just know that things have to get done?
I just know that things have to get done, but every day I tell myself I gotta really help carve out specific time so that I'm not imposing on the time I spend with my kids, so that I'm giving my husband the time, so that I'm giving my 9 to 5 the right amount of time. I really do think that I could benefit from something like that. I think that any of us could, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like something comes up, we're on it. We got to address it in the moment. Or if a thought comes up, we want to make sure that we're capturing those things. So it's just a matter of how, as long as we're on the journey. I think that if we can't beat ourselves up, right? Because there are ideal ways of doing everything. I think the awareness, understanding, hey, this is how I can be better. And working toward achieving those things, I think that's the most important piece. At the same time, we have to celebrate what we have accomplished and just continue to try to be better. Because it's not going to be perfect. Starting a business is something that's just so unpredictable that we can't plan it out enough. It's kind of like being a parent. You don't know what you don't know. I'm learning as I experience different things with my kids. Just like your business is your baby, you're learning as you grow with the business. So we can't beat ourselves up for those sorts of things, and just understand that and leave room for growth.
Flexibility. So you don't say, I'm going to do 10 hours a week or 5 hours. It's based on your availability.
It really is.
Okay.
It really is.
That's good to hear. And I think you're actually giving them permission to not beat themselves up. Because we can be our biggest critic, and then that can create even more of a over-analysis, paralysis analysis where you're not able to do. But I think I heard last night, even in our podcast, Chef Mimi said she was like, she didn't know what she didn't know, similar to you, and she's just like, I just have to do something. Like, not doing anything was not an option. Okay, so I'll let you get back on your story, because I just you were talking about some operational stuff that I wanted to definitely talk about. So you're in the shared kitchen, you guys have the storefront, and now you have the lemonade that you're selling to complement the barbecue sauce.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
How did you then start thinking about a cafe or wholesale suppliers? How did that enter into the journey?
Supply and demand. The lemonade far exceeded the success, at the time anyway, of the barbecue sauce.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the thing that resonated most with our customers. They tasted the lemonade. They were like, oh my goodness. And I learned a lesson about how location is everything, about how the type of product we have to keep in mind and what we're selling. We're selling, where we were located was a lot of walk up traffic. We weren't necessarily a sit down restaurant. And one of those things that is a more in the moment purchase is something to drink.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's harder to sell a jar of barbecue sauce than it is a cup of lemonade, because with the lemonade, you get the immediate gratification. You're thirsty now, I want something to drink now, that is that sort of thing. So, and with the barbecue sauce, it's just more challenging because you kind of have to hard sell it. People have their own sauce or their own idea what might be a good sauce. So it's not that it's not a good market. It's just perhaps where we were wasn't as conducive
Mm-hmm.
as the lemonade
Mm-hmm.
In that space and with our available resources.
Mm-hmm.
So the lemonade in that moment really took off, and it showed there was a lot of support and excitement and repeat customers and that sort of thing, like we have with the barbecue sauce, but very different.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a lot less overhead to sell
Mm.
lemonade than it is barbecue. So these are the types of things that, we took into consideration. And we wanted to make sure that we lived it out, we really played out what that was going to look like, how we could really transition this into something much more substantial than just alongside barbecue. So we pulled it out, we separated it out, and we gave it an identity and started to really market it. And what we did was figure out, how is this lemonade going to be different from any other lemonade? And we can say that about any business. Why would somebody purchase what you're selling over your competitors?
Mm-hmm.
In that space is where we find our value.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be the person that's going to purchase our product? And then we have to meet them where they are.
Go
right?
ahead. You're doing all the market research and your value proposition. That's awesome.
Right, right. Because at the end of the day, as much as I love delicious lemonade, and I'm so glad people like it, I got to sell it. I have to sell this lemonade.
So you did
and
a buyer persona, like you did a whole sort of persona of who your ideal customer was.
Right. I tried my best. I'm sure that there's a lot more to do, because right now it is pretty much just me. So with the limited resources that I have, I really tried to understand, and I'm still trying to understand, what would drive someone to purchase something to drink, right? So through my own research, for me, I understand that people want to feel special when they have something to drink, right? Every delicious, unique drink doesn't have to have an alcohol mixed in with it.
Right.
We can create something that makes people feel very special, and something that's very delicious and different, and challenges how we think about what we drink. We can do that with natural ingredients. We can do that. So this was something in our particular location of town that we felt that we could really do, was really meet people, to give them a unique and individual and custom experience. So that's our goal, is to really try to provide something for everyone.
That's fantastic. So is that when you decided to open the cafe, once the lemonade business took off?
So what we did, actually, this is definitely not traditional. So when we had the barbecue, the person who owns the kitchens saw something in the lemonade and said, let's pull these two things out from each other. So we had an opportunity to brand it separate from the barbecue. And that was a unique and very special opportunity to be able to do that. So we had an opportunity to play around a little bit. And that's why I just want to take a second to bring out how important a community kitchen is. Can't discount the community in community kitchen, right? If you're with a really good community kitchen, we're here to uplift each other and help each other. And we market each other. We try to give each other, we share each other's resources. And, you know, we're able to try things, fail, experiment, because we really are a community, and it's a group of people that we're all wanting to achieve the same thing, and that's success with our food-based business. So I have to say it was a blessing to really have the opportunity to do that. And once it kind of established itself as a business entity, you know, that it really had some legs on its own, that's when we said, okay, we're going to open this up and begin marketing it for what it is. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. That really is, it captures the spirit of Flavors as well. And our hashtag is community begins in our kitchen, because it's really truly the spirit of what Flavors will embody, is a place where food and beverage entrepreneurs can collaborate, like you said, test, experiment, and really elevate and learn from each other, but also nurture those relationships. You have this skill, I have this skill. How can we, you know, partner up? And that is really what Samia has continually talked about. When she allows members to come into the community, she wants them to complement each other. So there's like, everyone can't join Flavors. Like, it's for people who are really about elevating their business and really wanting to do the work, and also to have that sort of open spirit of building and sharing and growing together. So that's so awesome. So the person in the kitchen saw this as an opportunity for you guys to market your product separately. How did you make the jump though? Like, how does that happen? So
No, go ahead.
Once you have the product that's performing in the shared kitchen, did you feel you just had the confidence that now we can open a brick and mortar shop to sell this exclusively? Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much is how it happened. Having the opportunity to kind of play around with concepts, it did. And I guess one of the things that I'll say with how it happens, I know, and I was just saying a little bit earlier, it can be challenging to make the decision to open your own business. The thing that I would say to people who are doing it or thinking about it is, don't think about it anymore. Just do it. You've already put one foot in the door. Right now, you're not doing anything but blocking your opportunities. If one foot's in the door, just put the other one in there. You know, I had this opportunity. It was sitting there. Did I know it was going to be an investment? Yes. You know, it was going to be challenging. Yes. Was it a lot that I didn't know? Absolutely. Am I turning a profit right now? Not necessarily, you know, but I understand that this is a journey. And it requires not only the financial investment, the emotional investment, the labor investment. You know, sweat equity is everything. But it's something that I have committed myself to. And the thing that I have learned from this is that, boy, do I wish I did this a long time ago, right? When I'm sitting here making these lemonades for people who are telling me how much they love them and how special they are, you know, for little events here or there, or I would just bring it to an event here or there, you know, pondering back and forth about, no, you know, like you said earlier, analysis paralysis. You know, we're not doing anything but prolonging the inevitable. You know, I just walked through the door. You know, what do I have to lose at this point? Considering what I've already put into it. You know, people have already expressed that there's a market. So I just decided to go ahead and jump in with the other foot and put it all out there. And one thing that I find when I talk to people about starting a business or this, that, and the other, it really makes me sad when I hear people talk about how much they're still analyzing this, or they're really trying to check that, or I have someone that can do this or that. And it, unfortunately, it's never going to be the perfect time if we look at it that way. Just have to do it, you know, and things will fall in place.
And you'll learn along the way. You made some really good points about profitability and being patient with that process, which is huge. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs also have, I mean, that's part of the planning and the forecasting, is how you can maintain your business, but still have money to invest in your business while you have your 9 to 5 to support your passion project. So
Right.
there's a lot of planning and forecasting, I'm sure, that you do on the side to make ends meet. So that's a big thing, because I think statistically they say that startups aren't profitable until like the 5th year. So everyone's timeline is different, but I think that's a good point that you made. And thank you for sharing and being so candid. And then the other thing is, what about, like you said, there are things that you didn't know. Like, what do you wish you knew now that you didn't know then? If there was one thing that you could tell your younger self? I guess you kind of said it, you would have started sooner.
I would have started sooner for sure. I think the thing would be just how involved it is to start a food-based business on 2 fronts. Number one, with becoming approved by the Department of Agriculture. So there are 2 parts to my business. So I have a bottled drink. I have a bottled beverage. It's my ginger lemonade. But I have maybe 16, 17 lemonade variations. Yeah, so one of the things is not understanding that each variation, in order to be bottled, has to go through the same process, which can be expensive. And that process of getting the permission or certification to be able to bottle is still different from having a storefront. And it's funny that we bring this up. I'm just finding out today that, although the Department of Agriculture has been overseeing us, that the Department of Health now would like to step in and oversee. So there's going to be a joint, a collaboration between the Department of Health and Department of Ag in regulating our
approvals,
certifications.
Okay.
So, these things, understanding what that's like, what you need, who you have to answer to, we have regular inspections, from a safety perspective, what are some of the things that we have to keep in mind? You're constantly trying to make sure that you're meeting every requirement that needs to be met. So I think that was the piece that you just don't realize how much you have to do. And unfortunately, that's the very thing that makes people not want to do this business. And it makes me sad because, there's so many really great businesses, food-based businesses out there, and it can be intimidating. It looks intimidating. It felt intimidating when I was going through it, but now in retrospect, I'm like, I got this, I could do that, next time won't be so bad, so I would just tell people, when you see those things that look like obstacles or looks like that's a dead stop right there. Oh, I'm done. I can't do that. It just seems too big. I would just encourage you just to walk down the path, and it's not quite as bad as it seems. You might have to do it slowly because of the investment that's required, but just to stay encouraged, because especially African-American based businesses, we don't have the resources and and the information to understand the help to walk through some of these doors. And that's one of the things that's important to me, is that I can, whatever experiences that I have to share, just to be able to continue to share those, so that we're encouraging our folks to get out there and stay the course, no matter how challenging it may seem, because there are people here who can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And just sort of taking the risk is what I hear you're saying. Just do it and believe in it once you already have a proven product. So talk to us about your 2 biggest wins, like in terms of like the most exciting part of your journey. We definitely want to hear about how you got into your first retail store with the barbecue sauce, and then your first wholesale client. Do you remember who they were and how it happened?
First wholesale client was probably a coffee. I'm not going to name the coffee shop, but it's a coffee shop here in Atlanta, and they order on a regular basis. And that's been a really great experience. It did teach me some things about what other people are looking for in those types of scenarios. I would say, and what was the other question? The first to wholesale.
And started selling the barbecue sauce. I think you said it sells online and in retail stores, right?
Yeah, so the retail location, we're actually down just to one, is located in a butcher shop.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's interesting and can be a bit discouraging because one of the things that we've learned too about barbecue sauce, everybody has barbecue sauce. There are so many, so many different
Saturated.
sauces, and so you walk up and you're stocking your shelf with yours among like, so you just have to think about, what is going to be that thing that differentiates me? How am I going to stand out in a crowded market? And that's one of the things that's kind of made it a little more challenging too, and why we're not on more shelves because trying to create the inventory and knowing that you have to sell the inventory, those are things to keep in mind, and you want to make sure that you're still promoting it too in a very crowded market. It's a tough thing.
Yeah.
And another reason why right now we're focused on the lemonade because that's something that has a much shorter shelf life. Once you produce it, you got to sell it. I mean, from my standpoint, because I don't have any huge contracts right now, but we are selling it in local retail stores.
That's
but yeah, you want to make sure that you're making wise choices with regards to how much inventory you're going to have on hand. Those sorts of things when you're dealing with the perishable.
Awesome. This is such good stuff. I want Candice, I want Aaron and Miss Kay to have, if you guys have any questions for Candice, feel free to take yourself off mute or put them in the chat. You definitely have that option. And I'm looking at my questions as well. I think we covered the big ones. We talked about time allocation, your beginning, things you wish you knew. I think that's everything. Your first. So are you still in the shared kitchen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So in order to sustain and maintain, with the Department of Agriculture, we always have to be tied to the kitchen.
Okay. Same
Yes.
here. We have the same model. You have to have a licensed kitchen and you have to also have your own license as a food and beverage entrepreneur. Right. So that's a requirement with all the Flavors members.
Yes.
I have a quick question. How do you manage your packaging?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So at least in Georgia, I'm not sure in your location, but in Georgia, this is actually really funny. I had no idea. This is probably one of the things that I learned too. When you're creating, we created all this wonderful packaging. There's certain things, of course, that are required to be on the packaging from a legal standpoint. You have to have I think that if you're selling over a certain amount, you have to have more than just the ingredients. You have to have the nutritional facts on there. But what was interesting is when we submitted our label to the Department of Agriculture, it wasn't approved because size of certain pieces of information on the label matter, right? So if the brand of the name can't be more than 1.5 times bigger than what the definition of the product is. So lemonade, the word lemonade has to be proportionate to the name Squoze. There's a ratio. And when we initially submitted it, not knowing this, they said, no, your brand name is way too big. Lemonade has to be bigger, so people have to know what it is legally, the legal way a bottle should be set up. So when we, created the brand and the label, we didn't take that into consideration. So that's something I would definitely make sure before you solidify and get a bunch of things printed out to make sure that it's been approved through the Department of Ag first, because they don't care about your investment. It just has to.
That's an awesome segue. And just so you know, Aaron and Miss Kay, we actually have a USDA she was like a compliance officer who's actually coming to the group, who's going to talk about label requirements for the state of Maryland. Her company, I think, is called Label Resources, Ames Perry. So this is perfect information.
Great. Thank you.
kind of
Thank you.
talk about in terms of compliance and cost. Uh-oh.
There you go. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good, I'm just plugging that upcoming lunch and learn about packaging. Did you figure out a local packager, or are you outsourcing that outside of Atlanta in terms of the graphic design, the printing and all that? Or do you do that inside your place?
I did all of that.
You're the supply chain at home.
Yeah, I did all of that, right? So yeah, this is a family affair. You know, when we have to produce, so first of all, I guess I can complete the packaging conversation with not only the label, but when it comes to the packaging and getting approved, there has to be a legal way that you're actually filling the bottles. I use something called a hot fill process. That's when you have to take the product up to a certain temperature and fill it so that you're guaranteeing that you're killing all of those bad microbes, you know, that can cause the product to spoil before you put it in the bottle. But there's also other processes, you know, where you can put it in, give it a bath, I think like a hot bath. I forgot the official name for it, but they'll know immediately. They can tell by how it's packaged when they assess and break down what's inside of the bottle when you submit it to be approved. They can tell if it's been through some sort of process that will take it up to a certain temperature. So that's something else to consider.
Have you,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I had another question. Have you trademarked your brand yet?
So yes, that's a very good question. I will tell you, that was a very overwhelming process for me. My Achilles heel is going through these sorts of things. It's a very legal intensive process. So someone actually had my name when I went. So I had to change it up a bit just for them they lost the name. So I had to go in and amend my application. I got it tentatively, but I had to go and amend my application. I had to bring in an attorney because it's so much legalese that it just became challenging. Now, if I got it outright with the way I applied, it would have been great. But they said, yeah, you're good. You have it tentatively, and they give you 6 months to be able to remediate whatever issue it is and resubmit it. So yes. So the answer is yes. It's an overwhelming, for me anyway, other people might not think so, but when you go in there and look at that application, it's like, you know, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But it can be overcome. The types of things that you have to do with the trademark are you have to show the label and the brand in the marketplace. They want to see how you're using it. They ask you questions like, how long have you been using it? And that sort of thing. So you just have to be prepared with certain types of information. Your LLC helps that you're actually operating. They want to see that you're operating with this name.
Do you have to take pictures of like with the showcase your brand? So if we're working out of a shared kitchen, you don't have a storefront, you don't have you just may have a website, a product, and a shared kitchen and some folks you're selling it to. Do you need to have imagery of that exchange, or is it sufficient enough to have a copy of photos of your layout of your, you know, because although I haven't sold an item yet, I have a full cadre of branded materials in support of when we get ready to go. So I'm trying to wonder, is that sufficient, or do I actually have to show the exchange between customers and the brand?
I think that the customer and brand pictures help. So I did send pictures of my signage at the store. I sent pictures of the labeled bottles just kind of sitting out right after they come out of production. I sent pictures of people like, drinking it, you know, so they want to see it being utilized in the marketplace. And that's something that you shouldn't have a problem with. If you have a label already and even from a trademark perspective, they're not concerned with the Department of Agriculture's process that you've gone through. And if you have your label the way that it is, and you can take the pictures with those and submit that. Those are two separate entities. So I wouldn't prolong. I think it's like $275, 370, something like that, 275 or 375 to go ahead and submit the trademark. I would go ahead and do it and just make sure that you have that, the customer holding it or something that shows that you are using it in the marketplace. Those are, now, is it required? Perhaps not, but it certainly can help. I mean, it certainly will help, excuse me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. You can't
fantastic.
see me, but I'm nodding my head as you speak.
Okay.
I'm agreeing with you. I feel you.
So Candice, where can we find your sauces if we want to order them online? And do you guys ship to the DMV?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Speaking of which, okay, so you can get the sauce at Chappy Daddy. That's ChappieDaddy.com.
I'm gonna put all this in our private on our Founders Lounge when I attach this, but I'll link your website, ChappieDaddy.com.
Yep.
And then Squoze is only sold in the Havana area, right?
No, we are shipping. We are starting our cold shipment process. So
wow.
Yeah, that's something that we're working on. Right now, I believe that we're just going to be doing our by the case, our bottles by the case. But we will be broadening that out. It really is just a matter of logistics, what that's going to look like, and shipping is so expensive. I mean, even for the sauces, it costs almost the same to ship 10 of them as it does to ship 2 of them. It's just that expensive because of the way they're shaped. That's another thing I would take in consideration too. If you have a product and you're looking for bottles, this is something that I might even adjust. Changing the shape of the bottle so that it fits in a more standard box. Because our bottles are kind of like a mason jar, it requires almost a complete square so that we can get the sufficient wrapping around it. And when we first did it, I was like, oh, I'll just slip it in one of those prepackaged mailers. It's like, what is it, where anything you can fit into this box is going to cost X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
It's almost like the post office, flat rate. It's almost like the post office knows exactly how narrow to make it, So I was like, wow, if I had a regular, those flat plastic ketchup bottles, I could slip it right in there. It would have been the flat rate, right? So those are things to keep in mind. I would just go look at some of those flat rate boxes and see what kind of packaging you can get to slip in there, so you can take advantage of a cheaper rate. Because once that rate goes up, it's considered an unusually shaped box, and the price skyrockets, especially if you have something.
And that cuts into your profit margin.
Yes, and then people don't want to buy because they don't want to pay for shipment. It makes it tough, and then you don't want to, say shipping included, but jack the price way up. That doesn't sound or feel good either. So that's another reason too why we kind of were like, we're going to have to reevaluate the whole shipment thing. But so by the case has been a good way to look at it. And we're still playing around with what makes the most sense. But right now that would involve completely changing our packaging, which is not something that we were prepared to do.
You're in the lab. You're continuing to experiment and test.
That's right. That's right.
Fantastic.
These are all things I wish I knew before, for sure.
This is such good information. I feel like you've shared a wealth of information with the team, and I'm just so excited to have you. We'd love to have you back for when we open. Because you could talk to our new, I don't want to call them graduates, but our new members when the space opens in 2021. And we would love to have you come up if you ever come to the DC area to check out.
I would love to. I would love to.
Fantastic. This has been so good. I don't think
bring some of that charcoal lemonade.
Oh yeah.
I was looking at your website.
Actually, you know what? Our runaway success has been our bee pollen. I don't even think I've added that to the website yet.
Ooh.
Yeah, we do a bee pollen lemonade. Yeah, it's really
healthy.
Good. Yes.
Awesome.
Supposed to help with allergies.
Very cool.
Lemonade would go good with one of Peggy's potatoes.
I want to hear more about these potatoes. Do you have a website?
I do, but because I haven't kicked off the launch, it's Peggy'sPotato.com. But
Okay.
it's just going to show that we're not launching until 2021. But you can go there. I'm not giving away the secrets before they can buy it.
Hey, I hear you. I hear you. Please keep in touch. I would love to, when you launch, please let me know. If you can just reach out to me through the website.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much and good luck again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it as well. Thank you for the great information, and definitely got my mind, the hamster in my brain running full speed now. So thank you for all the
Awesome.
information.
No, thank you. Thank you.